Angola, a nation on the southwestern coast of Africa, boasts a rich and diverse cultural heritage. Its history is a blend of indigenous kingdoms, Portuguese colonialism, and a long and devastating civil war. From the vibrant music scene to the stunning natural landscapes, Angola carries the scars of its past, even as it strives to build a brighter future. Before the turmoil of the 20th century, Angola was home to various ethnic groups. These groups had their own distinct languages, traditions, and social structures. The arrival of Portuguese explorers in the 15th century marked a turning point. It brought with it the slave trade and, eventually, centuries of colonial rule. The Portuguese sought to exploit Angola's resources, including its people and its land. They established plantations and forced Angolans into labor, fueling the transatlantic slave trade. Resistance to Portuguese rule was a constant undercurrent, but it wasn't until the mid-20th century that the struggle for independence gained momentum. The seeds of the Angolan Civil War were sown during the colonial era. Portuguese colonialism was marked by oppression, exploitation, and a rigid social hierarchy that favored Europeans. Angolans were denied basic rights and opportunities, fueling resentment and a desire for self-determination. In the aftermath of World War II, the global landscape began to shift. The rise of nationalist movements across Africa inspired Angolans to demand their freedom. Inspired by the successes of other African nations in securing independence, Angolan nationalist groups emerged, determined to end colonial rule. These groups varied in their ideologies and approaches. Some advocated for peaceful negotiations, while others believed that armed struggle was the only path to liberation. Despite their differences, they shared a common goal: a free and independent Angola. After years of struggle, Angola finally achieved independence from Portugal in 1975. However, the transition was far from smooth. Instead of ushering in an era of peace and unity, Independence Day marked the beginning of a brutal civil war. Several factors contributed to the outbreak of the Angolan Civil War. The absence of a clear power-sharing agreement among the competing nationalist groups created a power vacuum. This vacuum quickly became a battleground for control of the newly independent nation. Adding fuel to the fire was the Cold War rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. Both superpowers saw Angola as a strategic prize in their global struggle for dominance. They poured weapons and resources into the country, backing different sides in the conflict and transforming it into a proxy war. The Angolan Civil War became a proxy war, a tragic stage for the Cold War rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. Each superpower, driven by their own geopolitical interests, sought to influence the outcome of the conflict, turning Angola into a battleground in their larger ideological struggle. The Soviet Union, eager to expand its influence in southern Africa, provided military support to the MPLA, Popular Movement for the Liberation of Angola. This support included weapons, training, and military advisors. The MPLA, with its Marxist-Leninist ideology, became a key ally for the Soviet bloc. On the other side, the United States, fearing the spread of communism, backed the FNLA, National Front for the Liberation of Angola, and UNITA, National Union for the Total Independence of Angola. The U.S. provided arms, funding, and logistical support to these groups, seeing them as a bulwark against Soviet expansionism. Section 5. Key players, faces of the Angolan conflict. The Angolan Civil War was a complex and multifaceted conflict, with a cast of key players whose actions and decisions shaped the course of the war. Understanding these figures is crucial to grasping the nuances of the conflict. Agostinho Neto, a poet and physician, emerged as the leader of the MPLA. Neto, a charismatic figure, advocated for a socialist Angola and sought to unite the country under his party's banner. His leadership was instrumental in securing Soviet support for the MPLA. Jonas Savimbi, a skilled strategist and a controversial figure, headed UNITA, Savimbi, known for his charisma and ruthlessness, positioned UNITA as a pro-Western force. He was a master of guerrilla warfare, and his tactics prolonged the conflict. Holden Roberto, a nationalist leader, led the FNLA. Roberto, who advocated for a federal system in Angola, initially gained support from the United States. However, his influence waned as the war progressed. Section 6. Voices from the Ground. Personal stories of survival and loss. Beyond the battlefields and political maneuvering, the Angolan Civil War was a deeply personal tragedy for millions of ordinary Angolans. Their stories, often untold, offer a poignant glimpse into the human cost of the conflict. Maria, a young girl at the start of the war, remembers the terror of fleeing her village under a hail of gunfire. Her family, torn apart, spent years in refugee camps, haunted by the uncertainty of their future. João, a former soldier, still bears the physical and emotional scars of the conflict. He witnessed horrific atrocities and lost countless comrades. Now, he struggles to reconcile his wartime experiences with the desire for peace. These personal accounts, fragments of a larger narrative of suffering and resilience, serve as a stark reminder of the war's devastating impact on individuals, families, and communities. Section 7. The Price of War. Social, economic, and political fallout. The Angolan Civil War exacted a devastating toll on the country and its people. Decades of conflict left Angola deeply scarred, with social, economic, and political repercussions that continue to shape the nation today. The war shattered Angola's infrastructure. Roads, bridges, schools, and hospitals were destroyed, crippling the country's development. The economy, once promising, lay in ruins, crippled by the disruption of agriculture, industry, and trade. Millions of Angolans were displaced from their homes, forced to flee to neighboring countries or internal displacement camps. The war created a generation scarred by violence, trauma, and loss. Many children, robbed of their childhoods, became soldiers, while others witnessed horrors no child should ever see. Section 8. A Fragile Peace, the Path to Reconciliation and Reconstruction. After decades of bloodshed, Angola finally achieved peace in 2002. The death of Jonas Savimbi, the leader of UNITA, paved the way for a ceasefire agreement between the government and the rebel group. The road to reconciliation and reconstruction has been long and arduous. The legacy of war, with its deep-seated divisions and mistrust, continues to pose challenges. However, the Angolan people, demonstrating remarkable resilience, have made significant strides towards healing and rebuilding. The government, with the support of international partners, has implemented programs focused on disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration of former combatants. Efforts are underway to rebuild infrastructure, revitalize the economy, and promote national reconciliation. Section 9. Legacy of Strife. The enduring impact of the Angolan Civil War. The Angolan Civil War, though officially over, continues to cast a long shadow over the country. Its legacy is etched in the nation's psyche, a reminder of the devastating consequences of conflict. Despite the challenges, Angola has made remarkable progress in the years since the war. The economy has grown, fueled by its oil and diamond resources. The government has invested in infrastructure development and social programs. However, significant challenges remain. Poverty, inequality, and corruption continue to plague the country. The legacy of war, with its unresolved traumas and social divisions, still needs to be addressed. Angola's story is one of resilience, of a nation striving to overcome the wounds of the past and build a brighter future. The journey is far from over, but the Angolan people, with their indomitable spirit, continue to strive for a more peaceful and prosperous future.